Friend, welcome to Sorta Bossy. So you're here because maybe you're someone else's boss now. And whether that's because you were a business owner who started a company and then all of a sudden you have this whole team to lead, or you were an incredible doer within an organization and so they promoted you and now you have a whole team to manage, or you always knew you wanted to be a leader and so you went down that path and maybe you're a director or a project manager or a team lead, and quite frankly you're not really sure what you're doing as it relates to leading the other people, right? And you're trying to figure out, how do I lead these people effectively without becoming the bad boss that I had one time, right? How do I not become the villain in someone else's workplace narrative? And maybe you even feel like when you were younger, someone labeled you as bossy and you're trying to navigate how that fits in to who you are now. But this show is built for you. It is built for those of us who somehow became leaders and weren't really given a step-by-step on how to do that. I know that was true for me, and I know that was true for so many people in leadership positions. And so the Sorta Bossy podcast came to exist because I saw a gap. When I'm working with leaders, I realized that a lot of the struggles, a lot of the challenges come from the people side of operations, right? So I have been in the operational efficiency world for the past 15 plus years. And for the past 9 years, I've co-founded a company called Run Like Clockwork. And I worked alongside Mike Michalowicz. We co-created some intellectual property for a book called Clockwork. It's all about how to design your business to run itself. And at the external view, like, this was all about systems. And once we got down to it, though, once we were in the weeds with people, it's very obvious that some of the bigger challenges are related to the people side of operations. So I've always had, since I've started my work in the operations space back, 15 years ago in corporate manufacturing, I've always had this like people plus processes approach. Right? And operations is the integration of these two things and how they work together. Because you can have the best systems in the world, but if you're not supporting your people, or if you don't have people that know how to effectively implement those systems, then those systems don't matter. And vice versa is true as well. You can have the best people in the world, but if you don't have systems, then those people are going to struggle. And so the culmination of my work over the past 15 years has led me to be super passionate about the people side, because I also want to help create workplaces where people actually want to work, right? Places where they don't dread showing up every Monday morning, or where their mental health is suffering because of their management or because of the toxicity within the culture. And as leaders, we have the power to improve that. So here's the data. Only 15% of leaders ever get any formal training. Right? And a lot of times that formal training, quote unquote, formal training, is literally just some HR, how to not get sued for harassment type of training. We're not talking about the boots on the ground type of training that leaders need when it comes to their roles and what they should actually be doing and how to drive performance of people, how to navigate conflict, and how to delegate effectively so that you're actually doing what needs to be done. And so if only 15% of leaders are getting formal training, and probably a lot of that formal training sucks, not only, but 85, the other percent of people, 85% of people are just winging it. We're just on a hope and a prayer trying to figure out, how do we lead these people? And then we're wondering, as leaders of the leaders, why aren't they doing a good job? Why isn't performance, where it should be? And why aren't our revenue numbers and profit numbers and cost savings numbers, why aren't those things where they need to be? And it's because no one invested in training these people how to actually lead other people, right? And so here's the other flip side of these numbers is like, okay, only 15% of people are trained on how to lead other people, yet 69% of employees, almost 70% of employees say that their manager has a bigger impact on their mental health than their doctor, their therapist, and their partner. Literally their life partner. Like as a manager, you have a really big impact on how people feel on the day-to-day. More so than their doctor, their therapist, or their partner, right? And so we have to do better. And this show is a tool to help you do that, right? So there's going to be different types of episodes, but really what it comes down to for me is that the way that we were taught leadership no longer works, right? The old leadership books, the antiquated models of how to lead people, the things that we're trying to learn from, they don't work anymore, right? We're operating in a different era. And I'm going to talk more about that on the next episode. But these shows, this whole podcast and series is meant to help us figure out what actually works now with real people to create workplaces where we actually accomplish the things we want to accomplish and we don't create a toxic culture in the process of doing that, right? So there's going to be 3 different types of formats for the episodes, right? One is going to be like solo breakdowns from me. Maybe I'll bring guests on sometimes for these like topical specific challenge episodes, but things like how to delegate to people without doing everybody else's work for them, right? Or how to actually fire someone and when to know it's time to fire someone. How to hold people accountable without micromanaging them or feeling like a bitch, right? Or how to give feedback without feeling like a bitch. Or how to emotionally care and show up for your people and be compassionate towards them without just letting everything slide and be walked all over, right? There's a fine balance between these things. And so these are the types of episodes that we're going to have on the solo topicals. Then I'm also going to be doing interviews with leaders. And these aren't going to be like polished, like tell me your entire story of how you became a leader or whatever. Like I don't care, right? What I care about is what you learned, where you fucked up, what you learned from those fuck ups and how you've done better. Maybe terrible bosses that you've had that helped influence what you do differently. Terrible things that you've done that you wish you could go back and change, but at least you can tell us how to do differently, because I really think that's where the value is. My biggest learnings are always from my biggest mistakes. And so we're going to learn from other people's big mistakes as they learned to lead other people. And then we're also going to have like Dear Abby style episodes with my co-host, my team member, Emily. And these are going to be like real questions from real listeners, as well as I love to pull from Reddit or places on the internet of things that are coming up for people that we can talk through. Sometimes it'll be news articles. So these are just like reaction type of episodes and advice column style episodes from us. And so things like, hey, I waited too long to fire someone toxic. What do I do now? Or I tried to make everyone else happy and burned myself out. Or I keep doing everybody else's work instead of actually leading. How do I reverse this and go back to, what I should actually be doing? Or what should I actually be doing? Or how do I have tough conversations with people when they constantly cry in our meetings, right? Literally the real things that we have to deal with as leaders are the things that we are going to be talking about. And I'm going to be giving you opportunities to join in on those conversations and submit things to us so that we can give you the feedback that you need as a leader. So if you're Sorta Bossy, aka you're in a managerial position, a leadership position, but you don't really know if you're doing it right, or there's absolutely room for improvement, or you've been constantly labeled as Sorta Bossy, but want to make sure you're not that toxic boss that no one wants to work for. If you're exhausted from being everything to everyone and you know that there must be a better way, then this is the show for you. I would be so appreciative if you would subscribe. And if you are really feeling generous, I would love for you to listen to a few more episodes and then write a glowing review, because that really helps more Sorta Bossy people find these episodes, find this podcast, and figure out leadership for themselves as well, which is just you giving back to other people. So subscribe, leave a review, and maybe even share it with someone else who manages, leads a team, and might benefit from some of the things that we're talking about. But I'm so thankful that we're here together. I'm so thankful that you're also sorta bossy like me. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode and every episode after that on this sorta bossy journey.